Hello, food service professionals of America. I just totally made that up. And thank you for joining us. If you're here today, like I mentioned in the description, Rich decided to extend his. Oh, hey, Quentin, how you doing? So Rich decided to extend his vacation a few extra days. He definitely needed it. And he messaged me on, I think it was Monday, and he said, I'm not going to be there to go live with you again. You'll have to find a guest. And of course, I had Sam on last week since Rich was away as well. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Jordan Jackson, and I'm bringing him in right now. Jordan!
Ahoy, hoy.
Hello, ahoy, red hot chili pepper man.
That's me. You call me hot stuff.
There you go, hot stuff. That's actually what I'm going to make your name right now. So there you go, Lisa Z and Jordan. Just so if anyone doesn't know who the heck is on this, because I didn't even mention it to you, Jordan. Like the face of everything is my coworker and pal, Rich Malachy. He is, I think I may have mentioned this to you before, like the Gary V of food equipment.
Oh, I like to hear that.
So he's the one that's usually in front of the camera talking to the people of hot stuff. There you go. Talking to the people here in the food service space. And with this show, essentially, I've brought in the audience a little bit because beforehand we were going live talking about essentially food equipment in particular. But having you on the show, I just wanted everyone to know, like I've really am trying to broaden the audience to be people that are working across food service in every aspect, every capacity, whether that be in the restaurant or the manufacturer. So Jordan, who the heck are you?
I believe if you go off my Facebook title, Sucio Pero, which means the dirty dog of the Red Dwarf, I am a bartender there. I have known the owner and proprietor, Russell, for over 10 plus years. He actually helped me get my start in this industry.
Wow.
And to do everything from shake cocktails, pour beers, pull pizzas out of the oven, fix, wash, do everything. The few times that problems arise that need a more humane approach, I am the inhumane option. So I've done it all. We're jack of all trades, especially what you're starting to see in these smaller individually owned businesses. You have many hats. You aren't just one thing. So
Yeah.
although my title says bartender, I do it all. I end all the bars. I end all the problems.
So you don't only work there. What else are you doing out in the food service space?
It may be alarming to hear from some people, but I have the coveted third-party union job as a bartender also on the strip. So I work for a property that is not actually connected to the hotel in that grand scale, even though it exists in that space. So I don't have to adhere to everything that the hotel declares, but I do adhere to everything that my restaurant. So that has those advantages. I don't have to deal with some of the things that people often complain and see. So on that side, I also bartend. I develop menus them. I just redid the menu over there. I added a new cocktail, and they let me have pretty much carte blanche. Again, when you can create and develop and showcase your skills, people will just trust you. And there are some things about the food and industry, or I'm sorry, the food and beverage world where people will spend their whole lives in it and never expand beyond it. So that's usually what I do. Beyond that, I go to concerts and learn about history, and those who don't are doomed to repeat it. So I have no intentions of being doomed.
And speaking of like going to concerts and stuff, so just for people to a little insight. So actually, I didn't mention this to you as well. So Food Equipment Digital Disruptors is actually one of like the monikers of what Rich Malachy and I do, which is help this industry move forward through digital marketing. So remember I was telling you when we met out in Vegas that I had helped put together this conference and get this industry just realizing how important digital marketing is, utilizing video media. Oh, I'm getting all these ticks for the show
No.
right now. So essentially, Food Equipment Digital Disruptors is all about digital marketing and connecting online. And essentially, that's how you and I met via my husband, who is Adam. And you guys became Instagram friends at some point, right?
Yep.
And
Cracking.
go, cracking
Oh,
jokes, right?
cracking jokes, and existing at a certain point. I mean, there's, I think a level. It's hard. We see a lot of people in this world that will offer help, but we're kind of hesitant. And he just hit it off. Had a lot of things in common in terms of musical interests and personal interests, and genuine care. And it's an interesting take, and you don't really think about it, but it's harder to become friends as you become an adult. I mean, in second grade, I sat next to you. You lended me a pencil. We're friends now for life. But, you know, one day you don't take the subway. You're not my subway buddy anymore. So now you see things change off. So
Point
Adam and I have had a
the
pretty solid one.
point being, just you end up becoming friends with people online who share the same interests as you, or let's say have the same career as you. And that's essentially how we've built this community that has really grown to be just a bunch of awesome friends because we are connected online. And sometimes the only time we've ever connect in person is if we're going to a conference or yeah, honestly, just if we're going to a conference.
Sure.
So that's just the big point that I'm trying to make here, guys, is I met Jordan through the internet.
It's weird. There's not, it's not all weirdos. There's mostly weirdos, but not all weirdos.
So, oh, Rich says, yo, he's actually here from the beach, I guess. There he is,
Well,
in Key West. Oh, and someone's trying to break
sounds like a good time.
break in over here. I locked this door that's behind me, but it's like one of the main ways to get into this warehouse over here. So they're gonna have to wait until 2:35 ish for me to open that door. But yeah, okay. So going back to meeting you in Vegas, this was us connecting in person. I did have the absolute pleasure to be tended to by you in the bar. So you made a fantastic cocktail, and being at Crush was really awesome. That space is beautiful. The restaurant inside of MGM, which you just mentioned, third party vendor to the hotel itself, to the casino itself. And yeah, so how does that work a little bit more? Does the casino have essentially companies that they work with to dictate, like, hey, this is what equipment you're using in the restaurant? Tell me a little bit more about that, if any.
Well, with the hotels, because I have actually worked individually for the hotel on a separate side. What you get is, I mean, there's a general term, but I compare it to the food court. You have such and such style restaurant, you have such and such style, such and such. So with the hotel, there's one sushi restaurant, or there's one Japanese, or there's one Italian, and there's one, steakhouse. And I'm using a broad term to kind of refer this, but it's now, so our space where we're located there it's a lease space,
Okay.
but the union declares that so much of the hotel's restaurants have to be union. So at that point, piggybacking, I wish I had more info on them. I don't even know if it's open yet. The Jonas Brothers have actually extended one of their restaurants and have opened in the MGM. And that space was formerly owned by the hotel and
Hmm.
is now a third party union as well. So
Wow.
now it's separate entities. They're technically employees of the hotel, but they don't move into the same line. With the union, you have a not I'm not going to use hierarchy, but you do have seniority, and that exists. So and it's done to protect people and have their job. There's no nepotism. There's no links. But what you've seen is the changes with the union and what the hotels have to provide. So in our space, our head chef, Mr. Billy DeMarco, is a phenomenal chef beyond all means. I mean, general food knowledge, ability, plating. I mean, these are all very vital and important things. He knew when they took in that space what he wanted. He wanted a brick oven and he
Okay.
wanted to wood fire it. and it makes a change. And so now, as we expand to his other restaurants, things change in those lines, figuring out what he wants. And so that's an interesting dynamic, because now you're dealing with the personal space. But if issues exist on the outside of your venue, i.e., leaks in the hotel that can now run into your business, there now you have to deal with some more headaches. It's not always on that side. So some
Yeah.
things we can go directly through the hotel for. Sometimes we have third parties. We have a dedicated plumber for our company. We have a lot of dedicated health and food inspection teams that work to ensure that everything's up to date, everything's made sure, and you have that opportunity. And when you're making the profits that you do working on the strip, it's
Yeah.
easier to have that solid, consistent team, not just one person with many hats on it. So we
Have
do our
you
due diligence, Samantha.
have you ever worked in food service outside of Vegas, or strictly Vegas is where you've done all your food service?
Out third party management of events. So large scale concerts. I've worked everything from various events in Georgia, in Wyoming, California, Colorado, Texas, Arizona, Washington. Nothing international, but I have been to places and experienced those. And there are a lot of these similar traits. A lot of that, you talk about danger zone in food and your temperatures, that doesn't change, but there are slight differences as far as what the teams do and how they handle it. And largely almost have always managed the alcohol side. Listen, I'm not serving your beer if it's already been pre-cracked. That's not going to happen. But ensuring that lines are properly cleaned, especially if we go into, vessels or places that are loaned to us, you don't always know how long it's been since something's been done. And you
Like
talk
service
about,
stuff, or
yeah,
just maintaining ice machines, for example.
super important.
An extremely important part about bartending, and we have a lot of people in our community that focus on ice machines and stuff. So
It's an art. Let me just throw that out to you right now. It is an art. If anybody says anything, it is. I can say outside of the dishwasher, your ice machine and the ice maker are the most important things. They completely change your drinks. They completely change presentation. It changes everything. And so I'm a big fan to see what's going on. Samsung, I mean, I'm dating myself. We're talking maybe 15, 16 years ago, trying to put the silver liners, the filters to ensure, these sanitized ice cubes. I mean, my general knowledge is a little rudimentary, but understanding, diffusion, how to get those. I mean, people will pay the money for the clear ice cubes. I
oh,
mean,
absolutely.
I know how to cut those. I know how to chop those. Is it worth spending the money depending on the um, location and the venue? Not always. And it's an entire art that people dedicate to. So it's interesting to see that and really put that. So let me give you a round of applause. You are my saviors, any of you in the ice industry. So
I
thank you.
I'm sure that most of the people watching who might be technicians, they are definitely very grateful to hear that, because it's true. We'll get pictures in our Facebook community of just things that are not good, like utilizing ice bins for things that it shouldn't be utilized for. But yeah, so I'm glad that you actually are taking initiative and taking care of your machines too. So that's good and that's important. So I've actually uh, moving on, just because I feel like you and I can talk for a very long time. But let's go on to the pizza, because everyone here loves pizza.
Can't be beat. I mean, let's be honest. Pizza it's a perfect food.
It
It's
is.
not a food pyramid. It's a piece of pizza. That's the dream.
And I was so upset. So after mine and Adam's trip to Vegas, there was like a pizza expo locally here in Jersey that I went to at one of the representatives that we work with. They are the ones that market the equipment, the pizza equipment, and they had John Arena there. And John Arena, I had no idea who he was. Here I was talking to him like he is just any other guy that I've met here in the industry. And Rich Malachy was particularly like, oh, he was just on Chopped or something. I think it was either Chopped or some show like that. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. And then he started telling me that he owns Metro Pizza out in Vegas, and how I should have went there. And I was like, damn, I really should have went to Metro Pizza. But have you ever been there?
I have. They are the Michael Phelps of pizza in Vegas, in all honesty. I mean, constantly winning, you know, best pizza in Las Vegas, constantly winning best sauce. I mean, they have so many accolades across the board. And as you get larger, you do get more detractors. Well, I like this style better. I like this better. I like this. I mean, you look at these guys, you know, the guy behind Pizza Rock, I won't jump too much, but Tony won multiple awards. And you see that as you expand. And Metro Pizza makes a great pie.
Yeah. And but it's
Sometimes
a different style of pie than what you're making at Red Dwarf.
very different, and different from the flatbreads that we do, you know, the flatbread style pizzas we're doing at Crush. But, you know, John was instrumental. There's now a mainstay in Vegas. I mean, it's synonymous with Vegas is the new sand dollar. You look at guys that have taken that on. They went to John and they said, we want to do pizza, but we want to do bar pizza. We want to do something quick, you know, a personal. How do we do this? And the great thing about John is he doesn't look at people doing pizza as competition.
No.
Let's make more pizza. Let's make all the pizza good. It doesn't matter if you get pizza from me. It doesn't matter where you get pizza from. If you make great pizza, people will come to you. And so having his insight, knowing him helping people, you know, one of the owners at Sand Dollar, Jameson, I mean, John was instrumental in helping them figure this out. This is how you do the sauce. This is how you do this. I mean, and learning that, and that expands, because when you're so cemented in only one thing, you lose track of it. I mean, John knows so many styles. He knows so much history. So my few interactions with him over the years, the guy's top notch. So
Yeah.
that really should excite you. There's nothing worse than hearing somebody is the villain of an industry and not fun. That's not
No,
fun.
you're right.
You want to be able to interact with them.
And it's funny because that you mentioned like he wants to better the pizza industry. I actually was able to find his pizza dough recipe because he made a video about it and put it on YouTube. You know, like he's sharing exactly how he makes his dough, which
It's
is something other people, especially like pizzerias out here in New York, New Jersey, would absolutely not share their
they,
secrets.
they won't tell you. They won't tell you the water. They won't tell you the measurements. I mean,
So,
you know, I'll jump back around. You look at somebody like Christina Tosi. People will spend the money for Milk Bar, and she
yes,
gives all the recipes. She'll tell you how to do it.
yeah,
And pizza is one of those things. I have flour in my house. I have dough. I have most things to make it. I know where to get 00. I know where to get this. I don't have a pizza stone, and I don't know my oven enough to know how to make it properly. And that really shows an interesting thing. I won't spend too much time talking about the negatives, but you know, one of the original, you know, pizza recipes that the Red Dwarf handled, they worked with the gentleman, and he told people he wouldn't share the recipe. Well, hey,
interesting.
you need to share the recipe.
Like you
We
work.
need to know how to make this. We need to know how to do this. And he goes, oh, no, no. And so at that point, I mean, you're holding your holy grail for people. All you're going to do is make enemies and animosity. And I get a level of it, but like you said, this guy knows what he's doing. He has a great recipe. He's not afraid to give it away. He's not afraid to share it. Nobody's hiding, especially talking about the bartending world. People were like, "Oh yeah, that's my cocktail." No, I'm going to tell you what's in it. You really like this cocktail? This is how you make it at home. Are you going to be able to make it at home? Probably not. If you don't have this, you don't have that. And that's an interesting shift that some people see, is when you have something you know is great, you can share it. It's the process. I think a lot of people forget that.
That is a beautiful nugget of like information. Or just like a cute, that's a perfect quote for this episode here. But I wanted to bring in this comment here. All of us in food service world truly are one team, feeding the world from the basic to the extraordinary. That is true. Literally, remember I was telling you, Jordan, that like the audience here is essentially, from A to Z, from the food service equipment repair person to the manufacturer. And all of us, including the people inside the restaurant, are feeding the world.
It's, it, I mean, you talk about the core essence. I mean, it's a necessity. You have to eat to survive. And, as our opportunity and level, I had this dawn on me. I never thought about it because I'd never eaten at a Michelin star restaurant. And now in the last couple of years, I've gotten to eat at single-handedly some of the best restaurants of my life. Plating, the imaginative nature, these things are what really do it. But to be honest, the best meal you're ever going to have, probably that bowl of soup my mom made me when I was really sick, and it brings that nostalgic memory. I mean, just a piece of pizza with a friend. And you talk about this industry on this level where it doesn't matter if what you're doing is the installation or the cleaning or the repair or the building on all sides. You're so vital. And I think people forget that line down the road. They're always going to applaud the chef, and they're going to apply this and this. It's like, hey man, who did he get his knives from? Who helped him sharpen them if they're not doing it themselves? Who made sure that the fryers are maintaining the right oil at all times? There's so many of these factors that go into it. It's one of the reasons why anytime I've worked in a restaurant, I've always thanked my dishwasher. Hey man, you fix the mess. And you get into that role where I think a lot of people forget that importance. And there is this major factor, with distribution problems, with supply chain issues. It's not these people's fault. Don't get mad at them and help through. And anytime we've had to reach out either with an issue, everybody's been able to help out. I mean, I'll give another big shout out to Ecolab. They bend over backwards when we have any problems rolled up, especially when you're doing what you got to do. They make sure things are good. So everyone who's ever helped us out in the restaurant, I always try and look out for them and make sure whatever they're getting is top notch. They're not any more important in this world. Nobody's more important in this world. And to share that love for everybody. So I applaud you all across the board, and thank you so much, especially all my draft technicians who have fixed all the problems at one of my venues that I've worked at previously.
So he also says that's Marco Pierre White's favorite meal, a ham sandwich, simple food.
Yeah, but don't forget he was smoking a cigarette the whole time he was having it. So
I don't even know who that is, Marco Pierre White.
Marco Pierre White is the chef's chef. He is more than likely your favorite chef's inspiration. He was monumental in so much knowledge. Anthony Bourdain has often highly spoke of him. There's some texts of this. I mean, the guy was one of the best to ever do it. And the celebrity chef and the development and how things have changed have really spoke to that. And getting back to that quote about simple being truly the best. You don't have to go over the top. You can, and there is a time and place for it. But I mean, I wrote back, our most popular beer at the Dwarf is the House Lager, and that's our owner's recipe. He went and worked for a brewing company, and he said, "This is how I want beer brewed at my spot. Can you do this for us?" Absolutely. We got a keg for you.
Wow.
And you come in, and I'm selling, for every beer I sell one of those.
Wow.
Because you have the people that don't want craft lagers, that don't want this, they don't want that. They just want something cold and carbonated. And I've got I had Miller Lite and High Life in cans. I had Bud Light. I have PBRs. I have Coors Banquets. I want a dive bar beer. I want to try this. Hey, this is good. Yeah, and it's $2 cheaper, and you get more of it. That's a good deal. So It's interesting that you don't have to jump through this. That simplicity is excellence, and getting into it. So making sure it all happens.
So for people who just tuned in, can you tell us more about Red Dwarf, since we are on that subject?
Red Dwarf.
You mentioned
I'll give you
to me before.
I'll give you a big, long, drawn out. So Red Dwarf took over a former space that was known as Smuggles Inn. They closed down in 2017. They were a staple in the Las Vegas world for the better part of about 40 years. Prior to that, the entire building complex was known as the Keyboard Lounge. Famously, the Beatles played there. You think about Vegas timelines, But if you ever come by, if you're ever in Vegas, check out the Red Dwarf. We have an entire brick wall that's dedicated. Every show is a show that is played in the greater Las Vegas area. Led Zeppelin just played around the corner there in the Sahara Event Center. I mean, you're talking prolific major acts in history. So the Red Dwarf takes over this space that was formerly Smuggles Inn. And now you're dealing with some of the headaches. We don't have to talk too much about COVID, but it is important, as I'm sure it's changed for a lot of our, manufacturers, supply distributors, especially in the repair and maintenance world, sanitation. So, my buddy, Russell Gardner, this is Nevada's first Cicerone, we'd always thought he was going to do a brewery. He says, you know what? I'm going to do a dive bar. I want to do pizza. I want Detroit style. We're going to do this. And it's his call. So it's all him. There's no outside investors, no loans. This guy did everything.
Wow.
So having to choose a space, if you have the ability to build something from ground up, you can do that. But most of us got Legos and had to follow the instructions. Then you can take it apart and build whatever you want, but you have to deal with what you're dealt. So headaches arise between installing grease traps that took longer. Your timelines just kept changing. How many places can you see? We have another great bar that's about to open here in Vegas called Raised by Wolves. They were set to open. They were supposed to open a couple months ago, and there's headaches on so many sides because everybody is trying to get stuff. And so that's a big headache. But let's talk about the positives of Red Dwarf. We're talking a place that was built from the ground up, from all of us that went in there. Blood, sweat, and tears. It's an incomplete team symptom. I mean, we opened up, and 2 weeks into December after we opened, I'm like, we got to do a holiday menu. And they're like, well, we don't really have the time. And they're like, we can do a holiday menu. And Russell does a hot butter rum. We do a play on it, and coming up with the names and creating these things. So when he wanted to do a dive bar, he still wanted to keep a fresh juice program. This is vital. This is important. We're not going to have roses, lime juice cordial. They make a great product, but that's not what our bar is about. And we have a tiki element, and it requires these things. But getting back to simplicity, we don't have the time to make a cinnamon syrup. So now you can use schnapps, and you can get the extra bite of booze that you want in a dive bar, and you can get the flavor you need, and you don't have to have the white tablecloths. It's an interesting shift where you see these things. Are we buying the best, highest quality pepperoni? Not necessarily, but because we're using a high heat oven and cooking at Detroit style, it still cooks up. It's still charged. It gets the action you want from it. And so Red Dwarf's just been this good example of getting dealt curveballs, because you always have to switch and handle things around. I mean, I've worked in pretty high-end bars. This is my first time going back to a 3-compartment sink. I don't know if you can tell I'm a massive human being. I'm about 6 feet, 6'5". So lumbering over to a 2.5-foot sink is very hard. So these are interesting things that we go through. So it's been a good experience, and we've had a lot of fun with it and trying to make things happen. We make this great pizza. Russell's so open to experimentation and trying new things. We started doing a tiki brunch. We got breakfast pizzas, live music. I mean, it drags people on a Sunday, and it's fun. So it's an interesting thing getting mentioned in a lot of local things. We're constantly getting new clientele. We're just getting busier and busier, and it's a great thing to watch somebody who deserves all that praise and acclaim have access to it.
So having this existing space, what was it like, at least to your knowledge with Russell, what was it like for him in terms of choosing what equipment he wanted to put in there? Because you guys went in there knowing you wanted to do Detroit style, right? So I guess, how did he go about choosing the oven that's in there, or choosing the mixer that he's using?
Well, big thing again kind of is that looking at other things as they're going through. Middlebury Marshall has been a staple. We have 2 of their ovens. We have one dedicated for garlic bread. We have one dedicated to pizza. So being able to control the temperature and the heat, one of the main things that you don't always think about in a pizza oven is, that oven door and that side. And with these automatic rollers, knowing that knowing it's going to turn on, it's going to go the same speed, and you don't have to miss that. Pizza making is baking, and in all essence, no matter the way you spin it. So you have to put all the pieces together right, and then you have to run it through, and it always has to count for it. And so having that and knowing we've got a great product, I mean, we've had one headache, and that was user error. That was human error. That was not machines. I am hailing our robot overlords when they get here, but pulling that door down and being able to access it, and getting a pan unstuck from when it had gotten caught in a corner. So the product line has been amazing. Russell handpicked a lot of these things. He knew, and I hate to say it, there are people that jump into their dreams that don't have the right intentions of, they buy the cheapest thing, or they buy just what fits. And sometimes, I mean, this is a great case. This is somebody who knew what they wanted and chose that for that reason. It fit the space. It did what he wanted, and it was the right fit. And so we're thankful for it. So we've got a great option, and we're able to make great pizzas every day. And I mean,
Yeah.
we're selling out of pizzas all the time. It is,
And
I hate to say it. It is very fun to tell people at midnight, hey man, we sold out of pizzas. You're here for beers now.
and I did see on the menu that you have a pineapple pizza, which of course, people are so either for or against, which I am a pro pineapple on pizza person. What are you?
I I am a big advocate. I am the most blasphemous human being in the entire world. So my pineapple pizza that I will often make at my house is a roasted pineapple and poblano sauce, and then I put sun-dried tomatoes on top. I'm
Wow,
going the other way. I'm the weirdo.
that's
That's
interesting.
I think when it's done in the right place and the right time, I think all toppings are welcome on a pizza. A pizza is a global treat that belongs to everybody, and there's anything you can put on it. And I'm good with pickles and marshmallows and pepperoni, and you can put whatever you want on a pizza, and it's okay. There's a whole episode of Doug where they put banana pudding on a pizza,
Yeah.
and it wins, and it speaks of the world. Pizza, pizza's anything.
So two
You
comments.
start putting toppings in a grilled cheese, then it's a melt. That's a different story. But pizza's pizza.
So our good friend over here, Taz, says, "Does Craig Charles or Chris Barry ever visit?"
Uh, that's I had have no idea. I have the coveted Sunday night shift. So the level of debauchery that I often see is a mixture of either, oh yeah, we only come in here once a week, or we don't come in on Sundays because we've been here 6 days all week. So potentially I can ask the coworkers, but nobody in my know. But if they're in Vegas, tell them to come by and see the big guy shaking in his chili pepper shirt.
So then Quentin also says proper specifying can make or break a place, meaning choosing the right equipment specific to the space, make or break. That is important to consider as well. And man, okay, so we are running out of time here. I one of the questions I did want to ask you, because in this industry now, like robots are such a hot topic because it's constantly coming up, and not and there are pizza robots now. So there are pizza robots that'll make a Detroit style pizza, depending on I guess how much money you have to spend on a robot. But in general, is there any piece of technology that you feel has improved your ability to service at a restaurant, or yeah, anything in terms of technology that you could give us a little bite on?
There's a couple things that have been, and there's always detractors and negatives. Everyone will speak against the delivery service. I
Mm,
had a conversation recently with somebody. Every business, in essence, is creating a middleman or taking a middleman away. And so with this automation, even on the more simplistic side, pre-batching things, par baking things, par cooking these things,
yeah.
there are these traits. And I know the place is shut down. I wish I could remember the name. If any of y'all worked and had anything to do with it, I applaud you. But there was the automated burger joint in San Francisco, and it was a $6 burger, and it was prime grade. I mean, we're talking a steakhouse or butcher quality. I mean, we're talking one of the best burgers you could potentially buy with money in an entirely automated shop. If you go down to, I think Austin might have it in the international. They used to have the honor system on the coffee and they got rid of that real quick,
Hmm.
but they had an automated robot. So you couldn't do a lot of customization. You want a latte, we'll do a latte. You want it with this, we do this. Now with pizza and this creation, I mean, Domino's, I mean, they're on the massive chain. There's Pizza Hut gutted all their restaurants. People want their food when they want it. They don't care that Susan J just threw your pie in the oven or that Eric T's on the way. As prices change, as these things go on, there is this general acceptance. I can go into an entire Philip K. Dick, Ray Bradbury science just apocalypse, the robot overlords. This is not the place for it. But automation has great things. You can alleviate stress for your staff and automation. I mean, I'm using a 3 compartment sink. Having an actual like dedicated dishwasher that washes, cleans, sanitizes, that's going to be better for me if I'm by myself and I don't have the time to dedicate and I can give more time to guests. I
Yeah.
mean, you talk about preparation for the pizza dough. If there was an automation, these factories that can produce it and that can cut, I mean, automation just means so much more. And so the pizza trackers I think are interesting. Meter, that's popping up, being able to throw this digital meter. I can walk away. Your sous vide that can be Bluetooth operated, that can turn on your Keurig that you can send a text to and it has the coffee for you.
Yeah.
But with pizza, there are so much of these things that are so heavily implemented. And in the history in the past, being able to properly feel the dough, that is something that almost no robot can quite handle yet. And I think people will have a detraction from. I mean, we don't have any pizza vending machines yet. We will one day, but I think the automation, these mixers, I mean, if you talk in that scale, but as far as robotics go, I'd love a delivery system. If I could have little Rob from Nintendo pop through in his little spinning arms, take a pizza and roll off in his treads, that'd be great for us. So
Gotcha.
I'm excited to see the development, especially the exact measurements. What we're gonna see is things like that. But in a small venue in a place like I'm working right now, that's not an option. That's not economically viable yet.
Yes.
So it is interesting to see what will change.
Will embrace robots. Chains will embrace robots for speed and consistency, but I think that if you want a good experience with food, you have to embrace the process that people add. That's
That's
very
that's a big one. Well, I'll relate it back to the robotic bartender in Vegas.
Oh, yes, I've been.
Crowds will watch it. Nobody orders from it because it's more expensive than the drink you can get from the bartender who has a heavier pour next to it.
That is true, and also,
And
I tried utilizing it, and none of the iPads were working to allow me to order.
yeah,
So, I was like, "This is dumb."
the Wi-Fi's down. It's not happening. I
Wi-Fi's
mean,
down. Exactly. It
let's
can't work.
let's be honest. You don't go to Little Caesars because you like the pizza. You go for the efficiency and it's quick.
That's
Little
true.
kids like it. I mean, that is a thing that we haven't quite gotten to yet. And
Yeah.
I see it in our future. I see it in our lifetime that this will be heavily embraced, but the human art form, the human element just can't be taken yet.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Jordan, unfortunately, we do have to wrap up. I gotta go shoot some photos and videos, but it was such a pleasure to have you on. I know you and I could probably talk so much more about your experience because I personally know you have way more stuff in that brain. Like you have got so much information, but with limited time, we'll probably have to have you back on another time, and maybe
Anytime.
with
I want to give I want to give our fans everybody watching, give yourself a round of applause. Whatever you do in this industry is vital and important, and you take care of yourselves. Be good to yourself. Give yourself that extra slice of pizza today. Get yourself a pizza. Give yourself.
Absolutely, and we usually end the live stream by just saying like, go on with your day, enjoy it, and make it count. So Jordan, thank you, and to everyone watching, thank you so much. Hopefully Rich Malachy will be back next week. We'll see. Maybe he's still in Key West. But anyhow, see
I'll be
you.
on the lookout for Chris Berry. Take care.